Manchester United is the gift that keeps on giving, constantly giving. They're giving away goals, they're giving away players, they're giving away trophies. It doesn't matter, it's just embarrassing to the club, and it's embarrassing to the sport, really. I see a player that is doing poorly on United, and I wonder if they go somewhere else, are they going to be the top scorer? Are they going to break records? Are they going to score bangers? It's an embarrassing 24/7 circus. Even as a Liverpool fan, I'm kind of sick of seeing this, and I think there's definitely more to the club, but the players aren't the problem, and it's showing. I want to talk about what I call the Manchester Derby, and this isn't necessarily Manchester City versus United, but what's basically becoming the Manchester Derby is Napoli versus Fiorentina, which happened the other day. You can call it the Manchester Derby in Italy, because United is just shipping off their bad players who end up performing really well. Every week, without fail, Manchester United create content. The chaos of this club is just a black hole that's swallowing talent and potential and just keeping it there for years. Then it spits out these players who go to other leagues and become superstars. So let's talk about Serie A, now becoming the witness protection program for ex-United players. Case in point, Napoli versus Fiorentina the other day. You had Fiorentina that had De Gea from United. They also had Dzeko, who used to play for Man City. And then you have Napoli. Recently acquire Højlund, McTominay, Lukaku out on injury, Vanya, who is supposed to go to United, and of course De Bruyne coming from City. This is why I'm calling it the Manchester Derby in Italy. And this wasn't just a bootleg Manchester Derby. These players were beefed up. With De Gea in goal for Fiorentina, holy shit. Those last couple of years at United were brutal for him. But then at Fiorentina, this guy was making some insane saves. On Napoli, Højlund looked like Thor on pre-workout. Some of these breaks he had were fast, sharp, and he was just on the ball, insane. And then he scored 15 minutes in after struggling to score anything for United. He may have actually picked the wrong club before going to United. Napoli and United were in the running for him when he was back at Atalanta, and now he's come full circle. He's gone to United, he tried everything he could, like every United player does, and then he went back to Italy. I was watching and I just couldn't tell if it was De Bruyne, McTominay, or Højlund. They were all performing really well. 2 minutes into the match, he almost scored his first goal for Napoli. His first 2 minutes wearing a Napoli kit, he almost netted a goal. But there was no stopping him. A brilliantly received pass from Spinazzola, nice touch, ran around the center back, and he perfectly placed it into the bottom right corner against De Gea. Where was this with United? And that's the real point. Every single player leaves United and they become leveled up. Looking at Lukaku when he went back to Italy, Depay, Di Maria, Smalling, McTominay, Højlund, it's the same story on repeat. Maybe United's cursed. The irony behind this all is that Napoli signed Højlund just because Lukaku was injured. I think about it so much now that Napoli are in the Champions League, they have the Coppa Italia and the Scudetto to worry about. Last year, Napoli only had one trophy to worry about, and it was the league. Now they really needed to beef up their squad, and having Conte with them, they had to increase their budget. The Højlund signing was just a contingency because Lukaku was injured for 3 months. I was honestly worried as someone who supports Napoli because without Lukaku and starting the Champions League and such a tight schedule for everything can be really tough on them. So signing Højlund just as someone that would be there for the first 3 months, but then he pulled off an amazing performance like this was such a surprise. But now I'm thinking, is Napoli just rehab for Manchester United players? What happens after these amazing seasons that Napoli has with these players? Are they going to go back to United or are they going back to the Prem? But Højlund became world class. De Gea's back to being a brick wall again. McTominay's living up to all the hype that everyone was presenting of him. Antony's being worshipped right now at Betis. I'm half expecting Jesse Lingard to show up at Napoli and turn into prime Kaká. But this truly isn't good for the sport. Sure, Napoli's looking good and I'm really loving it. And even as a Liverpool fan, I don't really want to see United fail this hard. I want there to be more competition in the Prem, but it just looks bad. On the topic of the real Manchester Derby that did happen today, City slapped United 3-0 with Haaland scoring and Foden scoring. I'll give it to them now because City signed Donnarumma, who truly makes a difference behind the net. For Napoli, they have to keep it up. Whatever sorcery's behind this career mode for Højlund is amazing. He didn't even train with them that much. He probably doesn't even know all of their names, and he was pulling off that kind of performance. But we'll see how Napoli holds up in Champions League, and we'll see how United holds up in Champions League. That's all.